Quilters, I'm Pam Heller, AccuQuilt's cutting expert.
And I'm Erica, AccuQuilt's corporate marketing specialist.
Hey, welcome to the first part of our On the Go limited series. Today, as well as tomorrow, we'll be taking an in-depth look at this year's QuiltCon in Phoenix, Arizona, with permission from the Modern Quilt Guild to film.
That's right. QuiltCon took place last week from the 17th through the 20th, and during that time we were able to collect footage of the quilts and speak with several of our go-getters that were in attendance at the show.
With that said, we want to give a huge shout out to Brandy Maslowski from Quilter on Fire for all of her videography and interviewing our go-getters at the show. Thanks so much, Brandy.
Now, QuiltCon is such a wonderful event to be part of and to witness in person. Thousands of people gathered to see hundreds of magnificent quilts on display. And there is a juried quilt show with entries from members of the Modern Quilt Guild from all over the world.
Yeah, I'm a huge modern quilter. QuiltCon is on my list.
Yes.
So there is a plethora of lectures, panels, and vendors at the show as well. But with ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, we know that there were many people who weren't able to travel to the show. So we are super excited to bring QuiltCon to our quilters in the comfort of their own homes.
That's right. Now, quilters, QuiltCon is such a wonderful event to be part of and to witness in person. But with ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, we know that there were a lot of people who weren't able to travel to the show.
Yeah.
And we're just excited to be able to bring QuiltCon to all of you quilters right there at home.
All right, we have planned tons of fun, including some great deals, giveaways, so let's get our show started.
All right. Now, to get your order in during the show, you'll want to use your phone's camera. That'll capture the QR image, and it'll take you right to the site.
If you don't have access to a QR reader, no worries. Just open up a new tab in your browser. At the top of the page, click on that plus sign and type in AccuQuilt.com/party. That way, it'll take you directly to site so you can place your order, and you won't miss a minute of our show today. You're going to love.
You're going to want to see every single quilt.
Yep.
Quilters, the first deal that we have for you today is the promo code QUILT40. Use this code at checkout, and it will take 40% off of your order.
We also have the promo code CUT150. This code will take $150 off our Go fabric cutter or our Ready Set Go fabric cutting system. This deal is perfect if you have the Go Me and you're looking to upgrade, or if you are new to AccuQuilt and wanting to start your journey with us. Ready, Set, Go is how you want to do that.
That's right. Now, you can only use one code per order, and some exclusions apply for these deals. So be sure to check out that website for all the details.
And quilters, be sure to place your orders today because we're offering double reward points. To those of you, you can use those reward points for future AccuQuilt purchases.
That's right. And you're going to get free shipping if you live in the contiguous U.S. when your order reaches $100 or more. Now, if you are close to that free shipping threshold and don't know what else to add in your bag, first off, I'll help you.
Yeah, right. Call us. We'll tell you.
It's National Embroidery Month, and we've got 15% off our paid downloadable embroidery. No code is needed to redeem that offer at checkout.
And we have such great embroidery files.
They're so cute. You really
fun.
should take a look.
All right, quilters, with global supply chain issues, we can't guarantee when out-of-stock items will be back in stock. So make sure you make your purchases while items are available and ready to ship.
That's right. You can also find our products at your local AccuQuilt retailer. To find the closest retailer to you, we have a store locator. It's at the top of the page at AccuQuilt.com.
You can quilt now, pay later. For more information on financing through AccuQuilt, visit AccuQuilt.com/financing. All right, Erica, you ready to take a look at some of these quilts?
Absolutely, but before we start, quilters, when you hear us say machine quilted on a frame, that means that the quilt was quilted on a long arm machine.
That's right, and when you hear us say machine quilted without a frame, that means the quilt was quilted with a home or domestic machine.
That's right. Now, let's begin by looking at the top 3 awarded quilts in the Improvisation exhibit. Quilts entered had to be pieced improvisationally without a defined pattern or template.
Now, third place went to Alone But Not Alone by Kathy Cook of Bloomington, Illinois. Her quilt was inspired by seeing residents of an apartment building in Rome during lockdown. Do you remember this picture?
I do remember this.
Residents were singing and dancing and playing instruments from their balconies. They touched each other's lives. Kathy's quilt was machine and improv piece, hand quilted and machine quilted without a frame. So this was such a great picture. Do you remember?
Yes,
It was right
I
at the
do.
very beginning of the
remember it.
pandemic. And I love the fact that she's linked everybody together. You know, all the squares are separate, but yet
they're all
together.
connected, and then the teardrop down at
Yeah.
the bottom.
Yeah.
It's very poignant. I love this one.
Just beautiful.
Second place was awarded to Freewheeling by Lori Sheldon of Washburn, North Dakota. Now, Mary Rasmussen was the quilter. The hand-drawn circles within the circles were machine pieced using a reverse applique technique.
We hardly ever talk about that.
Hardly ever talk about that. That's right. The machine channel quilting and the big stitch handwork provided dimension, color, and texture.
Okay, now both of us really, really liked this quilt. And I do love the thought of like that reverse applique, right?
Using that technique and
Yes.
hand drawing those circles. So that
Right.
they're there, but they're not perfect. You know, we don't
Right.
always have to be perfect with everything, right?
Yeah, this one's beautiful. All right, and first place in the improvisation exhibit went to Broken Clock by Annie Hudnut of Loveland, Colorado. Her quilt utilizes steampunk-inspired elements, machine and improv piecing, and hand applique. It was machine quilted on a frame. And you and I talked about this, how
We did.
beautiful the colors.
It really is. It just that black background. I always say, you want your colors to really sing, put them on a black background.
Right.
But the shapes and the gear, that kind of, it feels like gears. It feels mechanical
Right.
without being an actual representation of that.
Right, and again, those modern techniques of, you know, circles and squares and stripes, those
Those
basic
basic
elements.
shapes, yep.
All right, quilters, we're going to be sharing more quilts from the exhibition and others that we mentioned today after the show. So make sure you stick around after the credits to see even more quilts. You're going to love them.
That's right. Well, it's time to hear from one of our go-getters, Lori Miller. She was at QuiltCon this year. Let's take a look.
Okay, so we are here at QuiltCon. I am with Lori Miller of Lori Miller Designs. So Lori, what are you doing this year at QuiltCon?
Well, this year I'm basically a tourist enjoying the show just like everyone else. So I'm getting to take a little vacation on the side as well.
Oh, that's great. And so what kind of thing is your favorite part of QuiltCon?
Well, I don't think there's just one favorite thing. Of course, the quilts are the first one, is to see all the quilts and just see what's new and what is going to inspire me to make something of my own. That's really awesome. And then, of course, I love the vendors to find some good bargains or you find things you don't find at home or anywhere else. So I like that. And then the last thing is to do some watching of all the cute outfits and bags that are all quilty. So that's my last thing.
There's so many great people walking around with incredible outfits. So let's talk a little bit about you and your business. So you are Lori Miller Designs and you have an incredible blog. So what kind of stuff will we see there?
So on my blog, I usually have some tutorials, and then I also share things that I'm working on. And I'm also a pattern designer, so I do a little bit of promotion of my own patterns there as well. But there's a little bit of something for everybody there, I think.
Okay, and you have actually had a quilt accepted into QuiltCon in the past, so tell us about that.
Yes, I had a quilt called Steppin' Up. It kind of looked like ladders, I would say, and it was very exciting to find out. And of course, all my relatives came to that particular show, and there's nothing quite like having some recognition for something you've made.
Yeah, that's so great. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Sure, thank you.
Quilters, be sure to check out Lori's website by visiting LoriMillerDesigns.com.
Have you ever gone somewhere and have you ever had a quilt on display somewhere?
No, I have submitted several times to
Have you?
QuiltCon. Yeah, and what my goal in life, right, is to have one accepted. The thing about quilts at QuiltCon, which I don't think some of our viewers know, some of those quilts are huge.
Yes.
And then some are kind of medium sized, but small, tiny.
Some are very small.
quilts. So
That's right.
yeah, have you had
No,
one?
no.
It's my goal
right.
on my bucket list.
We've got all kinds of goals here. Well, quilters, it just wouldn't be a show with us without a giveaway. So today we're giving away AccuQuilt mask and mug combos to some lucky people who registered for today's event.
That's right. And the first lucky winner of a mask and mug combo is, drum roll please, Marilyn A. from Nashville, California. Congratulations, Marilyn.
And our second lucky winner is, drum roll please, Carolyn R. of Rock Springs, Wyoming. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
All right, looking at those amazing improv quilts, you might wonder what dies would be helpful with that process.
Right. Now, with any process, you need a starting point and somewhere to draw your inspiration. So one of my favorite things to do, because I'm a huge modern quilter, is strip dies. And at AccuQuilt, we have 18 different sizes of strip dies that could really help with so many designs.
That's right. Now, usually we talk about the 2.5-inch strip die. It's kind of our favorite, and we love showing quilters how to cut strips and squares and diamonds with that die, but we wanted to shake things up a little bit today, so we decided to work with our biggest and our smallest strip dies.
Right.
So we've got the 6.5-inch cut and the 1-inch cut. So when you figure in your 1/4-inch seam allowances, those are going to finish at 6, and then the other one at 1/2 of an inch. Let's take a look.
Right. So we're actually going to show you today how to cut rectangles, because that's a big thing, right? People, we show you how to cut squares all the time. So, you know, in honor of QuiltCon, we're going to talk about rectangles. So this is our 6.5-inch strip die. Remember, quilters, all of our geometric shapes, including our strip dies, have that 1/4-inch seam allowance built in.
That's right.
So this will finish at a 6-inch square, or a 6-inch strip. So it has 4 guidelines. This one says 90, 30, 45, and 60. And these are going to help you to create diamonds and squares. You and I have done tons of videos on how to cut diamonds and squares. So today I'm really going to show you how we're going to cut rectangles. Here is our pro tip. You want to cut the widest size first, because then you're not taking those tiny little pieces and trying to cut.
That's right.
All right, so we have a whole bunch of scraps. So I cut a big one here. I cut a big strip. Thanks to Erica for ironing today.
Yes.
You know, it's what we do. It's how we look.
How we get
other.
ready.
Yep.
How we get ready.
Yep. And then these were just scraps, so we're just going to cut them, and we're going to show you how to cut. Oh, here, let's do this, and then we'll show you how to cut.
Enough?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just cut those into little strips.
So all of our strip dies will fit through our Go and our Go Big. But Erica, we also have 2 sizes that fit through our Go Me, right?
That's right. So we have a 2.5-inch strip die that has just 2 on the die. That'll fit through the Go Me. And then we have our multi-strip die, and that's really fun. It has 3 different sizes, 1, 1.5, and 2-inch. And that one will also fit through the Go Me. And that one is great for scraps. I think that would be a great one for some improvisational, just for a starting place, because I have not really embraced the whole improv quilting thing. And so I think to kind of get me started on that, I'm going to be doing this and cutting some really thin strips. Oh.
Well, see, we're saving these now for our crumb quilts, because we talked about that a couple of weeks ago on one of our shows.
Yes.
Okay, so now we have strips that are 6.5 inches wide.
Yep.
Okay.
Now we're going to get our smallest strip die, and this strip cuts 1-inch strips. And you know what? This is one of those times, it's probably harder to cut smaller strips accurately even than bigger ones.
Yeah, so now what we're going to do is we're going to lay these strips at 90 degrees. And we can always cut 6 layers of fabric, so already I have 4. So I'll just go back here like this.
Okay. Perfect.
And I kind of wanted to stop here so that I could show our viewers. Don't forget, it's only going to cut where there's a die and a mat.
Right.
So don't worry about that little tail, because it's not going to cut off.
That's
you can use it for something else.
And don't worry about these angled guidelines, because there aren't blades underneath them.
No, this is strip die magic. It's super fun. All right, so now that we've cut our wide strips, now we're going to cut our tiny little 1-inch strips. And again, so if I were doing 2x4 rectangles, I would cut 4.5-inch strips and then 2.5-inch strips.
Perfect.
I learned that by trial and error.
Yes, yes.
Right?
We do learn things. We do. We don't just play, we actually learn things. So let's take a look at these, because really, as we were working on the show, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to use to help me get started with doing some more modern kinds of things.
Right. So now look at this. Now we have perfect 1x6-inch strips. So do you want to lace them out?
I do. So the nice thing about these is you could piece them. So you could start with piecing some, and then you could maybe even cut them apart again.
Right.
And maybe you want just one. Right, you could have different links in them, or you could use them as applique shapes and just kind
Right.
of overlap them.
Right.
Maybe you want to weave them together a little bit.
The Lincoln Modern Quilt Guild had a quilt at the show that was for purchase for donation to a guild, and this was very similar to what they had. They had these great little straight lines, and they were appliqued. So look at that.
So
All right, so
There we
make you
go.
some rectangles, folks.
now I need to go home and play with those.
I know, you can have them. All right, quilters, let's take a look at the Minimalist Design Exhibition. Quilts entered into this exhibition had to demonstrate simplification of content and form for maximum visual impact. A lot
That's
of
right.
negative space.
Right. So here we have the third place winner, which was awarded to Little Snippets. It's by Abigail Sheridan de Graaf of Warwick, Warwickshire, UK. Her techniques included machine piecing, improv piecing, machine quilting on a frame, and skinny strip piecing in an improv style. And I absolutely, this is the kind of one that inspired me and thought, okay, because it is just that combination of all the
Right.
different techniques and then that thin quilting.
And often in modern quilts, you see those stark contrasts in colors. So black and white is really, bright colors, not really traditional, floral,
Right,
very
right.
prints and that kind of
And
thing.
I definitely lend to being the more traditional quilter of the two of
Yes,
us, but I
yes.
am definitely more of a modern quilter when it comes to how I quilt my quilts.
Yeah. All right, next we have the second place winner. It's called Sunset Bliss by Donna Macleod of Van Nuys, California. Leela Whitener-Fay of Trace Creek Quilting was the long arm quilter. And this quilt was machine pieced and machine quilted on a frame. So we had talked about this earlier, that beautiful circle and those strips just totally looks like a sunset.
It does.
Right?
It does.
And then the quilting, tiny, tiny little stitching.
So whether you're using a circle or a circle die for that, whether you're using, because it graduates in size, it gets
Right.
bigger. So you couldn't really just use, say, a drunkard's path. You'd have to
You'd
do
have
a little,
to use a circle.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, first place in the Minimalist Design Exhibition was awarded to Passage Number 5. It's by Carson Converse of Shelburne Falls, Massachusetts. Now this is a whole cloth quilt. It was made with wool and with cotton batting before being quilted. It was machine quilted on a frame and utilized matchstick quilting. Now if you're not familiar with matchstick quilting, that is very fine, tiny straight lines.
Straight lines with tiny little space in between it.
Yes.
And Erica, you and I talk about this a lot. Quilters typically take fabric, cut it up, and sew it into something new. This was just a solid piece of fabric.
Which is actually a very old quilting technique, but definitely a very modern feeling look.
Yeah. All right, quilters, it's time for another one of our go-getters. Brandy is speaking with Kimberly Benefield. She was on her show this year.
Yes, she was.
Let's check it out.
So we are here at QuiltCon 2022, and I'm with Kimberly Benefield. So Kimberly, what are you doing at the show this year?
I just had to be here this year. Initially, I wasn't gonna come. I was like, let me, conserve my budget. But I've had friends contact me and ask if I'm coming. And then Sarah Trail with Social Justice Sewing Academy said, we need you there. So that's what turned the tide for me.
Yeah. And what's your favorite thing about QuiltCon?
I mean, just seeing, even though we're masked, seeing the faces of so many friends and, people that you have so much in common with this craft, it's just, it re-energizes and inspires you. So
Yeah, it's so nice to be back in person.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about how you're involved with the Social Justice Academy?
Sure. I've sewed a block for their Remembrance Project, which that's here. I saw that hanging. And I went through a workshop with Sarah Trail. So before sewing those blocks, she kind of takes you through the process that the students go through and just kind of how to inspire yourself as you're building these blocks. And so that's a big part of it. And then, seeing Latifa Safir here as a featured speaker is just something I didn't want to miss as well.
Yes, I was so excited to see that. But also, I wanted to ask you, what do you do sort of for your business? What's your passion? I understand you're a long armor.
Yeah. Well, quilting for me is like therapeutic. So during the day, I'm basically a software engineer, a user experience designer. And so the quilting world to me is one that just kind of helps with some of that stress. So I have an online, a blog and Instagram and Facebook as well, of course, and they're all under the same title of Northwest Pepper, NW Pepper. Because I live in the Pacific Northwest.
Ah, there we go. Okay, and I can't let you go today without asking you about your gorgeous jacket. So tell us a story about that.
This was actually, I put this together during a workshop with Sandra Johnson. She does a lot with denim, and she kind of inspired us to, and so that's why a lot of my jacket has denim. I mean, even the colored pieces, except for this at the bottom, this sparkly Essex linen.
Yeah.
And so I just like going through the process was like, wow, this was not very difficult to do. And so I made another one for my husband. It's all black and gray. I quilted it on my long arm. I have a handy quilter, Forte. And this is all a Carly Porter design. So she does something she calls graffiti quilting. So it just kind of blended well with a lot of these neons and that kind of thing.
Well, it is absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much for stopping by to chat with me today.
You bet, Brandy. Nice talking to you.
Okay, Kimberly, will you make me a jacket?
2 while you're doing them.
Those are gorgeous.
They're
Oh,
beautiful.
my goodness. You can learn more about Kimberly on her website, nwpepper.com. Now, she also mentioned the Social Justice Sewing Academy, which is a wonderful nonprofit. It empowers people to be agents of social change through textile art. To learn more about the organization, visit sjsacademy.org. All right, now the next quilts we're going to look at from the Modern Traditionalism exhibition. So these quilt blocks had to modernize a traditional block or quilt pattern with modern design elements. And this is like one of our favorite sections.
So right now, the Omaha Modern Quilt Guild, that's our challenge for the month of March.
Okay.
Create an 18-inch, can't be wider than 80 inches square quilt. I'm really excited about it. All right, the third place was awarded to Flown Away Geese by Irina Tomafieva of St. Petersburg, Russian Federation. It was machine pieced and machine quilted on a frame and was quilted by Ekaterina Barchova. The quilt was inspired by birds flying over the glowing city in the dark evening sky to the Baltic Sea. Everything about the color of this is so beautiful to me.
The colors are stunning and the quilting is amazing on it.
I love the circles and the upside down circles, and it's just so breathtaking.
Instead of our traditional flying geese.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Next up in second place is The Mended Mountains. This is by Laura Lowen of Lafayette, Colorado. Now it was machine and improv pieced, hand quilted, and machine quilted without a frame.
This is hands down one of my favorite of the show.
And look at the basic shapes. I mean, we've got half square triangles, we've got squares, we've got rectangles. It's just all in the color. It's in how she's assorted them. It's just stunning.
I just think the scrappiness, who taught us that word about scrappy stuff? Oh, I can't remember the goodness, scrappy goodness.
Scrappy goodness.
Yeah, it's beautiful. All right, first place in the Modern Tradition exhibition was awarded to Hot by Leanne Chahi of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Leanne described Hot as just another log cabin quilt, evokes heat and warmth and surprising optimism. But when I made Hot, I was angry at the pandemic and also at other serious issues that were playing out in the world. Hands down my favorite quilt that we show.
Well, yes, and I think that feeling of optimism comes from the lightening up of the shades.
Yes.
The dark with the really dark blood red colors are very oppressing feeling. But those as they lighten up to the almost white pink, it just gives you that feeling of hope.
And traditionally in a log cabin, there's just one square of red. And now the whole quilt is red. I love it. Good job.
Quilters, the next quilts we are going to share are by Latifa Safir, who was the featured lecturer at this year's QuiltCon. Combining her training as an engineer with her lifelong passion for sewing, Latifa creates designs that are graphic and contemporary.
This retrospective exhibit features Latifa's bold and innovative quilts, which modernize traditional shapes and techniques. It's stunning. Take a look. so many clamshells.
So many clamshells. There's a die for that.
Yep, there are two.
There are two.
All right, quilters, whether you're a modern quilter or a traditional quilter, hand stitcher or a machine sewist, the one thing that is probably the basic shape in most of your creation are squares.
That's right. And although having one shape on a die and cutting 6 layers seemed lightning fast when you first started using AccuQuilt, or when you first needed just a couple of shapes, sometimes you need more, right?
You do.
So what if your entire quilt is made up of, say, 2-inch finished squares? Well, cutting 6 at a time now starts to seem a little slow, doesn't it?
That's right. Well, many quilters don't know that we have dies that cut multiples of the same shape.
That's right.
Okay? So, for example, this cuts 9 2-inch finished squares. So, okay, Eric and I, we can do this math. It will cut 54 squares in just one pass through your Go or your Go Big cutter. So you can see the lines are here. Thing to remember, most important,
Yes.
that lengthwise grain needs to travel back and forth across that die board.
Exactly.
And use a 10 by 10 mat. This is a
Yes.
question we get all the time. Can I use my big 10 by 24 mat on a 10 by 10 die?
You're asking for trouble.
You are, because it's
You
going
are.
to shift and shimmy. Okay?
All right. But we have some other shapes as well. So maybe you're thinking something a little bigger. Well, here's an example that cuts 24 4.5-inch squares in one pass. Those squares are going to finish at 4 inches. Those are 2 of the most common shapes in quilts. And there they are. You're going to cut all of those multiples.
We also have a 1-inch squares
do.
on a 6 by 6 die.
It cuts 9 1-inch finished squares.
Yes.
It is adorable.
I have that one.
Yes.
I think I.
So if you ever thought about making a postage stamp quilt,
Right.
oh, quilters, that is definitely the one.
Yeah. So again, 54 1-inch squares. Imagine trying to cut those by hand. All right.
Talk about crumbs.
Quilters, before you jump into your next project, be sure to check out options to cut more pieces using our multiples dies, and especially if you need to cut a lot of a single shape.
That's right. That's a great pro tip. But Pam, I want to see more quilts.
I do too.
Okay.
All right, let's check out the next quilts are from the piecing exhibition. Quilts entered had to be machine pieced and reflect a strong or innovative use of piecing.
That's right. In third place, we have Bit Flip by Christine
So cool.
Perigo of Erie, Colorado. Now, this is an homage to her previous life as a software engineer. It was machine and improv pieced and machine quilted on a frame. It does look like computer chips,
It
doesn't
does,
it?
all the days.
And like log cabin squares in the back.
Yeah, just beautiful.
I love it.
Just beautiful. In second place, we have Rhythm in Blues by Terry Sargent, Pert of Seattle, Washington. This quilt adapted a line drawing from graphic artist Matt W. Moore. She has permission to use it.
Yes.
And enlarged it to a finished size. This quilt was machine pieced and machine quilted on a frame. And when we're done here, don't forget to remind me to go Google it.
Yes.
Because
we wanna
I
see
love
line
the
drawing.
curves. But now the cool thing about this is that it makes it look like it's transparent underneath, right?
Yes.
That you can see the layers,
You're
but
seeing
actually
the layers
it's
through.
just colors, different shades of colors of blue.
That's right. And in first place, we have Pride and Joy. This is by Veruska Zarate of Redlands, California. Now, this is a self-portrait of the artist and her 2 little boys. I just love it.
Stunning.
It was entirely pieced together, quilters, using foundation paper piecing. It is made up of 2,359 shapes and 20 different colors of cotton. The quilt was machine pieced and machine quilted on a frame. That is just amazing. And never would I have guessed, just looking at a picture of it, that it was not just a collage quilt, that those
Right,
pieces
the
were not
applique
stacked
pieces.
and
yeah, our
and
good friend Luke
appliqued.
Haynes does that. But no, this was foundation piecing. So not only did she have to draw and create the image, but then she had to create the pattern
Right.
to create the foundation piecing.
And
So,
know what order she was. Oh, it blows my mind.
good job. We love it.
Absolutely.
Quilters, in case you're just now tuning in, we have special deals for you today in honor of QuiltCon. First, you can use the promo code QUILT40 at checkout to get 40% off your order.
And if you've been eyeing our Go fabric cutter or our Ready Set Go fabric cutting system, you are in luck. Use the promo code CUT150 to get $150 off that Go fabric cutter or the Ready Set Go. Some exclusions apply for both of these deals, so check the website for details.
And quilters, don't forget, it is National Embroidery Month. And to celebrate, we're offering 15% off our paid downloads for embroidery to celebrate. No code needed to redeem this offer at checkout. Now is a really great time. We have some really great applique shapes
We
and
sure do.
stitching.
Really. Plus, you're going to get free shipping if you live in the contiguous U.S. when your order reaches $100 or more. No code is needed to redeem that offer at checkout.
But wait, there's more.
There is.
You'll get double reward points when you place your order today. Take advantage of this offer. Make sure you have your purchases in before midnight Central Time tonight.
Perfect. All right, it's time to get into more quilts. These next quilts were included in the Hexagon Quilting Challenge.
We love a good hexagon.
We do love a good hexagon. And the quilt's focus had to be on that hexagon shape.
You're just going to love this. Okay, in third place, we have Put a Curve on It by Erin Case of Vancouver, Washington. This quilt was machine pieced and machine quilted on a frame. And if you used our big hexagon and our orange peel dies, you could recreate a portion of this. I think it's fabulous.
I love this, yeah.
I love the contrast.
And thinking of putting the curve in the middle of that hexagon.
And if you look at it right, you can see that three-dimensional, right? They look like blocks. Oh, good job.
Next up in second place, we have Gaming by Anne-Marie Cowley of Hillsboro, Oregon. Now this quilt used foundation paper piecing and was machine quilted on a frame using her signature seersucker quilting in a grid. So this, talk about dimension.
Right.
Definitely, this is so three-dimensional. It is, you can just, it's like you're following it right down into the matrix, right?
Yep, and that, again, that stark contrast of colors, that black and that hot pink. Great job. First place for the Hexagon Quilting Challenge, we have Nest by Colleen Butler of St. Francis Bay, Eastern Cape, South Africa. Nest was machine pieced and hand appliqued. It was machine quilted without a frame, and it is my #1 favorite of the whole show.
You love those stripes, don't you?
I love those stripes, but I love the fact that she's taken those triangles, right, and made them just a little bit wonky, but yet the whole thing looks beautiful.
The hexagon, it's just like spinning hexagons.
I really, really want to make something like this. What a great job.
We're so inspired by all of these quilts.
Right? And I look at it and I think, oh, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. All right.
Quilters, it's time to hear from our final go-getter of the day. Here is Stephanie Jacobson. She's a local here from our area, and she was speaking with Brandy at QuiltCon.
Okay, so we are here at QuiltCon 2022, and I'm with Stephanie Jacobson. Now, Stephanie, what are you doing at the show this year?
So I am just a visitor, an attendee. I love coming to QuiltCon every year because I love being surrounded by the quilts.
So we're here just to enjoy the show.
Just to enjoy.
And what's your favorite part about QuiltCon?
Probably seeing and meeting people that I know on Instagram, actually meeting them in real life, and also just seeing all the beautiful quilts.
Yes, it's so great to meet the people that you've known virtually for so long.
Yes.
Okay, so what's your Instagram handle?
It is Steph Jacobson Designs, and Jacobson is S-O-N.
Okay, and what kind of things will we see on your Instagram?
You will see mostly my half square triangle block of the month that I co-host with Zena Clark, who is Zany Mouse on Instagram. So we do a monthly block with half square triangles, and anybody is welcome to join.
Fun, and you love to do things with kids as well.
I do. I am a 4-H volunteer, and we have a quilt club that meets monthly. And then I also do an art venture with the Girl Scouts.
Oh, that's so fun. Well, thank you so much for stopping by and chatting with me today.
You're welcome.
Stephanie, she's our hometown girl.
She is.
Be sure to follow Stephanie on Instagram. Her handle is at Steph Jacobson with an O Designs. Stephanie has a block of the month that uses half square triangles, my all-time favorite shape.
Yes.
And I didn't do it this year. I did it last year. I love it. So check it out.
All right.
All right, quilters, it's time for our small quilts exhibition. These quilts for the exhibition had to have a total perimeter of 119 inches or smaller. Some of them were like 36 by 30 inches. They weren't, but they could be any shape.
That's right. Starting off in third place is Through by Karen Stone of Dallas, Texas.
Great.
She used improv patchwork, hand-dyed, and conventional cottons, and it was machine quilted without a frame. This is fun.
this is great because you would cut those strips on the bias, right? To create that image so that they would stretch.
Yeah,
and we have you can cut strips on a bias on our
sure.
dies,
Oh,
but
sure.
the color way is just phenomenal.
Yes.
I like that one a lot. Next up is second place. We have Coloring Outside the Lines. I feel like this should be my motto in life. By Liz Cooney of Morristown, New Jersey. Now, Liz's quilt uses hand-dyed fabrics which machine pieced, machine appliqued, and machine quilted without a frame. This reminds me of temperature quilts, which are a huge, big thing right now in life, right?
We're going to talk about those tomorrow.
Yeah, but I love the little sticks in it and the color variation. Gosh,
I do
it's
too.
great.
I think this maybe is my favorite one.
And do you love the quilting because it's circles?
It's all circles. It's just
Gosh.
continuous circles. All right, in first place for the Small Quilts exhibition is Sudoku. It's by Charles Cameron of Wake Forest, North Carolina. It was foundation paper pieced, created with self-made templates, and was machine quilted without a frame using 12 weight thread. That's a pretty
That's
heavy.
so heavy.
That is a heavy thread. It would give it so much dimension. That's why we can see it, that gives it that motion that we
Right.
see besides the design.
Right. And again, just strips.
Just strips.
Just strips. So good.
Gotta do more with strips. All right, you often hear Miss Pam and I talking about how there are flying geese in every cube using shapes 4 and 5.
Yep.
But did you know that one of our most popular sizes of flying geese is available as a bob or a block on board die?
I did know that. This is the 3x6 finished flying geese. It's available as a bob. It will fit through all of our Go Cutters, including our Go Me, and it is an incredibly versatile die. There's just so much you can do with it, and it also comes as part of our Go Big electric fabric cutter starter set along with a 6x12 cutting mat. So this is great. Now, this is important to remember for flying geese. You need half square triangles and quarter square triangles.
That's right, and the two are not interchangeable, are they?
They are not. Sometimes quilters take quarter square triangles and try to sew them together as half square triangles. So Eric and I are going to cut some fabric here, and we're going to show you how
And
to
we're
do
going to talk
this.
to you about why. We're not just going
We
to
are.
tell you. It's not like geometry class in high school where they that you asked the teacher why and they said because I said so.
Because it's math.
We're going
right?
to explain it to you.
All right, so we're just going to put our fabric down here and cut it with our die. Now, the thing you want to remember, it's only going to cut where there's fabric and a mat.
Right.
So if you just wanted to cut half square triangles, you would just use our smaller mat.
Right, because at the end of the day, we've got half square triangles and quarter square triangles, and you can use them any way that you want to.
Oh, okay, hang on, I have one string.
Oh, one string, okay.
Okay, Karen K. Buckley, her
Oh,
scissors.
love those scissors.
Yep.
Okay, so the way we make a basic flying geese is we take a quarter square triangle,
Here, I'll move these out of the way.
and then we take,
Hang on,
we
I
need
have
our,
one string.
she's got a string. So
There we go.
notice that we're flat. We've cut off, this is the dog ear because this is the center point. Now here are our half square triangles. Those are going to create the wings.
Right, and you and I talk about how we would just chain piece it for days. You just start
Right.
on one side, go from one side to the other, press away to that outer half square triangle.
Without the dog ears, it's going to line up perfectly. You're going to sew on the one side, press it open, then you're going to go back, you're going to press this one on and sew this one on, and it's going to be perfect. You're going to note that you've got your 1/4 inch seam allowance so that you're going to have a perfect point sticking out in your final process. So let's talk about those half squares and
Yes,
quarter squares.
let's talk about them.
So the outside, you always want the outside of your block or your unit to be nice and tight.
Right.
Okay, so that's your lengthwise grain.
Right here. Now look, lots of stretch.
This is your bias. So a half square triangle is cut with your tight on the outer edge and your bias across the middle. If you went and sewed this like a quarter square triangle,
Oh, for the love.
you would be putting this, it would go together like this,
And it would work, right?
and
You
it
could
would
do,
work, but your outside would be very stretchy and it would probably not be the size that you wanted it to be.
Right.
It certainly
and it would be a wonky size.
It would be a wonky size. It would not be the standard size that you think
Right.
you're getting. The same would happen if you went ahead with our quarter square triangle, where again, we want our tight on the outside and our bias on the inside. If you went ahead and sewed that together,
And this happens a lot. I see quilters do this all the time. They take quarter square triangles, sew
and
them
they
together.
sew together. And while technically that does give you a square,
Right.
you now have your bias on the outside, and not only is it going to stretch into sewing, but it's also not going to be the size that you're expecting it to
Right.
be. So when you're sewing quarter square triangles, you do have to kind of pay a little bit of attention, because it's really easy to get them sewn together incorrectly.
Right.
But you would sew these two pieces together,
Yep.
and then you would sew these two pieces together. Then you're going to press them to the dark side, or to one side. You're going to decide on a dark side in this one.
Right.
Press it towards the green, let's say. You can nest that seam. It's going to go together just like a 4-patch, but you've got reduced bulk in the center because we took that point out,
Right.
and you're going to have the tight on the outside.
So this die cuts half square triangles, quarter square triangles, and flying geese.
That's right.
Look at that.
All right.
All right. All right. Now, next, this is our final pro tip of the day, which
Yes.
we just talked about.
Yep.
And it's almost time to announce today's final winners in our AccuQuilt mask and mug combo giveaway.
That's right. Our giveaways are one way we like to say thank you to our community of quilters for tuning in and supporting our shows.
All right, our third lucky winner of a mask and mug combo is, drumroll please, Kathy Yu of Mission Viejo, California. Congratulations.
And our final winner is, drum roll please, Patty D of West Richland, Washington. Congratulations.
When I flew to California a couple of weeks ago, I wore my AccuQuilt mask.
Yes.
Everybody asked what it was. I know. There
They
we
should
go.
know.
Quilters, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. This is the best of quilts at QuiltCon this year.
That's right. Now first we have Best Machine Quilting, Frameless, which was awarded to Cherry Basket by Frida Anderson of Sarasota, Florida. Frida's techniques included, get this, machine piecing, improv piecing, and machine applique. Curved piece templates were used and machine appliqued circles were added. Cherry Basket was machine quilted without a frame on a domestic machine. And I love this. To me, this kind of epitomizes in some ways modern quilting because that basket is such a traditional
Right.
shape.
Right.
But the oversized cherries
Yes.
are very fresh and new.
And
the
in my
outer
quilting
border.
head, I don't think that this is huge.
No.
I don't
no.
think it's very big at all. So, but again, that great use of color.
And the quilting is amazing on that.
I like it. Next, we have Best Machine Quilting Framed, which was awarded to Aroha by Michelle Wilkie of Cary, North Carolina. Aroha means love in Maori. Every stitch was accompanied with a prayer or a thought for those at home in Christchurch, New Zealand after their terrorist attack. Aroha was machine pieced, machine appliqued, and machine quilted on a frame using a long arm. Additional piecers included Melissa Harboth, Valerie Luberecki, Jen Carlton Bailey, and Sarah Lowry. Aroha was quilted by Christine Perigo. And do you not just love this? I love the black and the white and the darker colors.
Crimson that's just
yes,
highlighted.
but
yeah.
just such great use of that negative space, the triangles in the corner. It's beautiful.
And the thought behind it.
Yes.
And the
Best in
Quilting
Show.
Excellence Award was given to The Jinx by Danielle Robbins of Pahoa,
Yeah, Pahoa.
Hawaii. This quilt was machine pieced and hand quilted, and it utilized hand stitched binding and linocut printmaking. This
Yeah.
is such a cool look, and that quilting is amazing.
And when you think of modern quilts, this is what you think of, right? Those stark contrasts.
Stark
but
contrasts.
The quilting is what makes the quilt so amazing.
Yeah, it
and
is.
those curved edges.
Absolutely.
All right, last but certainly not least is Best in Show Award, which was given to 2020 Vision by Hilary Goodwin of Auburn, California. This quilt was machine pieced, hand quilted, and hand appliqued.
Hilary said the following about her quilt. 2020, how does one commemorate a horrible year? As a quilter, the answer for me, in part, was a quilt. 2020 broke me a bit as a healthcare worker, as a daughter who lost her father, and as a citizen who saw the fabric of her country fray. I designed and paper-pieced eyes. Like as many, I felt transfixed by the events of 2020, stuck at home or working in the ER, glued often to a screen. I appliqued tears to reflect the anguish of the time and hand-quilted monotonous 2020s with important issues of the year snuck in.
Okay, how beautiful. What a great sentiment and a tribute.
It is.
During that time that was so difficult.
And
for
such
so
a
many of us.
representation of it.
Right. Quilters, if you want the full list of winners at QuiltCon, you can visit quiltcon.com/QuiltCon-2022-winners. Check it out. There were some amazing quilts.
Amazing.
Quilters, don't forget we have deals for you today. To get your order in during the show, you can use your phone's camera to capture the QR image, and it will take you directly to the site.
If you don't have access to a QR reader, just open a new tab in your browser. At the top of the page, click on that plus sign, type in AccuQuilt.com/party, and go to the site to place your order.
Quilters get 40% off your order when you use that promo code QUILT40 at checkout.
And don't forget, we also have the promo code CUT150. This code will take $150 off our Go fabric cutter or our Ready, Set, Go fabric cutting system. Now, some exclusions apply for both of these deals, so be sure to check out the website for all those details.
And Quilters, don't forget, get free shipping if you live in the contiguous U.S. when your order reaches $100 or more. And if you're close to that free shipping minimum and don't know what else to get to add to your bag, don't forget, we've got you covered with 15% off our paid downloadable embroidery files. No code needed to redeem this offer at checkout.
And there's some fabulous options there.
Amazing.
Plus, you'll get double reward points when you make your purchases before midnight Central Time tonight. You can use these reward points towards future AccuQuilt purchases.
You can also find our products at your local AccuQuilt retailer. To find the retailer closest to you, check out the store locator at the top of the page at AccuQuilt.com.
Don't forget, you can quilt now and pay later. Find out more about financing at AccuQuilt.com/financing.
All right, it's time for us to go. So I'm going to go work on my modern quilt block for Monday, and you have some stuff to do?
I do.
I'm excited.
I do.
We hope you had so much fun as we did looking at all the quilts that were on display this year at QuiltCon.
That's right.
Now be sure to join us again tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
There were so many quilts we couldn't show you in one show. 12 noon Central Time for our second part of On the Go Limited Series.
That's right. We will be back here again, and we'll be looking at even more quilts and hearing from more go-getters in attendance at QuiltCon. Be sure to tune in for all the inspiration and all the fun.
And again, thanks so much for joining us today, Quilters. If you've been waiting for our show to end before you buy, now's that time. Here's the link to get everything you need before those items sell out.
Now be sure to stick around after the show to see even more quilts from the exhibits that we looked at today.
And again, a huge shout out to Brownie Maslowski for all of today's footage and to the Modern Quilt Guild for allowing us to film. Remember, at AccuQuilt, we help you cut time.
So you can quilt more. See you tomorrow.
See ya.